Now to fixing the toilet. There are 2 holes in the backs of most toilets, and from the dust you can see, which we'll have to hoover out before we put that silicone in, fixed with a 2-inch 10 and these washers. 3 washers and a rubber washer in between, so that you're not actually putting a permanent stress on the back of the pan which could split it if someone of, let's say, large proportions sits on it. Very important before we do any silicone work is to give it a thorough hoovering out around all of our edges, every perimeter around all of the bathroom before you start your silicone work, and dust it off everywhere. Top edges of the bath, every perimeter. You can go vertically up with the hoover if you like. Now to the silicone. Obviously you've got to cut the nozzle and you've got to cut the tube. So cut the tube, utility knife, twist your nozzle. Stops you cutting your hand and cutting it badly. Now always cut this ring off, it gets in the way of the bottom of the gun. Pull your plunger out, tube in, you can push this back. Now you'll see the point of cutting the ring off of your nozzle, otherwise it wouldn't go under that lip of the cage. Now cut the nozzle. Now we want to overfill. Down here would be a perfect size, but we need to cut it slightly bigger, so we're going to cut it up here and make sure we definitely overfill our joint. Starting in an internal corner and pulling out is correct. Upwards for this silicone joint, horizontal this way for this one. Take your time, try it and be neat, but the point is to make sure that the silicone fills the gap that we've left between the tiles to make it hold in, so that it's anchored in there down between the 2 tiles, as the grout would be. Just try and get a nice overfilled run, because we're going to tool that up in a second. The second important point about how to do perfect silicone is an atomizer spray bottle. Any one of these washing up liquid bottles will do, and you put about 1 inch of washing up liquid and then a couple of inches of water on top. Give it a shake and a few mist sprays, but don't saturate it. These are the silicone tools, and they're used to form and dress silicone. We're going to run them on the flatness of the tiles. That's the one I'm going to use. This one's got squarer, angled edges. That one's a German one. Wet your silicone tool and your hands with the concentrated washing up liquid spray. Go into a corner and pull out. Now for the vertical. Because your hands are wet and the silicone's wet, you'll be able to mould it like putty and it won't stick to your hands or the tool. That's the reason we use the washing up liquid mix. Use your finger for a tiny gentle pressure for any burrs on the silicone, any smears on faces. You clean off just like that. Another wipe. If you've wiped all the liquid off, just a tiny bit more spray. That's the basis of silicone. Now we can start on the rest of the room. Again, start in an internal corner, pulling across. You'll have to get ambidextrous here and pull out of opposite corners and change hands. Left-handed this way. And all of those edges are where cracks could appear with movement in a building. This is why these silicon joints are put in these internal corners to stop this cracking occurring, because the silicon will take the fractional movement or settlement of any new build. So from there I'm pulling upwards. Having this washing up liquid mix in the bucket so that you can knock the silicon off of your fingers and your tool is invaluable when you're doing this, pulling out of each internal corner. Run the head of the bath. It's nice that there are no taps on this bath, makes the silicon work much easier. Last little bit, connect the two corners. Across. Here we're going to have a shower screen later. Because we've got this recessed pocket, we've got two vertical silicons in this bathroom to do. So it's going to use quite a few tubes, probably about 5 or 6 tubes for the whole room. And pull up, make these two meet. And then we're going to give that a spray. But what I've done is I've pulled a little bit for the two other faces for the brown tile on the top of the bath. I've put silicone in there so that I've got fresh silicone that I'm going to continue from shortly after we've tooled this up. So we've got to get to work quite quickly with our drawing off strokes, and you'll get used to catching blobs of it with the other hand once you pull with the tool on these vertical runs. You'll also have to pull off of each face. You'll find you pull one face and leave a smear on the other face. Another quick little spray, and that's where we left off. So I'm not going to tool the whole way, but that's going to be where I'm going to continue. I didn't want to get any washing up liquid in between these joints, otherwise the silicone wouldn't get in there and wouldn't stick. We pulled it out of the corner a little ways. So near completion for this end of the bath, and then we can complete the other. Continue all along that brown tile. Another quick spray. We'll tool the rest of that up along there. 2 layers of tanking underneath these 2 layers of silicone, and the tile and grout to keep the water out. It is going to get all the water from the shower above, so you need those 4 layers of protection. Just to make sure, and make sure, and make sure, and make sure again. Top edge of the bath. Same principle. Run that millimetre grout gap with silicone. Rear edge to the vertical face of the rear wall of the bathroom. Final touch with the finger. Smooths any burrs out. You'll find it's like a wet plasticine, and you can touch any tiny bits in, push a bit in, and leave it to go off for 24 hours. Obviously that's not cleaned up yet. It's a professional way to do silicone. All contractors do it this way. We've all seen bad silicone. Hope you enjoyed that tip. A few areas left to do in the room. The perimeters around the floor, the bath panel, the edge of the ceiling, to the tile, though the client wants to decorate herself, so we're going to leave that for later. Now, putting this WC in my opinion, it's a good idea to have a few blobs of silicone to stick it to the wall, so that when these go off, they act as a cushion for any knocking or falling against this ceramic pan that could crack these holes or screw fixings. And the other reason for this is we can't screw down through the underfloor heating. We're going to have to rely on these 2 washers, and a silicone joint around the bottom of the pan. That's the lid, and the plunger works on the siphon for half flush or full flush. Now to the sink. Same silicone. To glue the cabinet to the wall, just nudge it out a little bit, and we'll put a few blobs behind there. Run the nozzle of our gun in there, a few squirts of same silicone to fix our sink cabinet in place. Maybe run up the sides, not too much, but saves you all the drilling and fixing. Bit across the crossbar in the back, and this isn't going to move anywhere. That should do it. And now we push our cabinet into place, and the silicone beds it beautifully. Now we're going to put our sink on top, so a couple of ribs of silicone, quite a deep sink, you'll see in a second, along the two joining faces. When the silicone goes off, it's going to glue the sink in place. Run a bead across the top edge of the cabinet all the way round. This is to seat the basin to the cabinet. And then we're going to silicone the joint further. Offer the sink in. Glue it in with the silicone. And then we're going to run the perimeter of the sink, open the door, the underside of the sink to the cabinet to the wall, etc. And that's going to make sure that any capillary action of water running down the front face of the sink isn't going to run into the cabinet and start exploding the thickness of the carcass. Run these in just the same as your other areas of the bathroom, and keep the same nozzle when you're changing tubes. It'll save you a nozzle full every time, but always give you the same size fill. When you've got your nozzle right from the beginning, keep it, and this is the same nozzle that I've used all the way through. So here, floor to cabinet, front of cabinet to floor. No water going to get in under there. All around tooled up beautifully. The proper way to do professional silicone work. Down the bath panel, around. There's our access panel. I haven't siliconed that at the same time. There's the finished job. From a grotty old bathroom that used to look like this. As you can see, the bath went the other way and we've turned the toilet around. But that's what you can do with a tight bathroom that's 1.4 metres wide. Just for that little shower pocket, turn the bath the other way, and the bathroom worked beautifully for everyone, and the client was happy ever after.
The amazing new Studhawk saw guide set. There are 2 Studhawks in the pack. The Studhawk 90 makes cutting square simple, and those difficult miters, the Studhawk 45 makes them a piece of cake. The Studhawk helps keep your fingers safe and save time squaring a line. Get your Studhawk saw guide set today.